Sri Gauranga Gunan Vidho Sadhya Samidhan.
Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan mission that he started in 1965, September 19th. Of course, he was on this mission long before that. He made this mission the purpose of his life. And Srila Prabhupada very intelligently captured the mission, even without any help. This we see as we read through the diaries of Srila Prabhupada and research the history of his work. Whatever great men do, common men follow, Krishna says. And whatever standards they set by exemplary acts, the whole world pursues. So Prabhupada was preaching by example. This is the position of the Acharya. That is the meaning of it. And Prabhupada very carefully recorded his early work back in 1966 with his own tape recorder. And I wanted to mention to everyone today that's attending the class that you can actually go to Prabhupada Vani, the online website, and there you can look up these classes and listen to them, the Bhagavad Gita classes, back in February and March 1966. This is called the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada. In other words, Prabhupada knew he would have to leave this world in his physical presence, but before his departure, he very carefully recorded his efforts to spread Krishna consciousness for future generations. This is called Vani incarnation. I have very interesting Yashodanandana Prabhu, quite a series of reach outs yesterday from a variety of people around America and the world in terms of what we're doing, how we're presenting our philosophy, that Prabhupada is still present and sound, and how they could take advantage of it. Because there is a lot of confusion been caused since Prabhupada's departure by the deviation of many of our God brothers who have introduced a, how can I say, invalid initiation system based on vapu, based on personal presence of a so-called person who can give you initiation. Actually, I wanted to mention to our group, if you listen to the March 2nd, 1966 lecture, Prabhupada mentioned specifically in there, remember he had no disciples at the time, and he had very little support. He was living in this room with no facility for cooking or cleanliness. He had to go to other places to take bath and to have prasadam. But he mentions in this early lecture, he says, if you choose a guru that is not qualified, it'll ruin your life. Ruin your life. Now, it was interesting to note that I had a person, I won't mention a name, some devotee from the southern United States. And we talked about that. And he said, oh, I did have a guru from the ISKCON cult guru system. Oh, really? And he goes, you're absolutely right. Having that connection with this person ruined my life. Ruined my life. It's very interesting to note that late last night I got a message from one of the first disciples of Gopal Krishna who was in Toronto. First disciples. Now this Prabhu has been involved with Krishna consciousness since 1981. So he sends me a video. Out in Vancouver, he was attending a kirtan away from the temple. Not a local ISKCON kirtan, it was some kind of yoga group in Vancouver, and they're chanting. It looks like about 50 people there. Yashodanandana Prabhu. 50 people. He sends me the video. I look at it. And he goes, hey, check this out. Take a look at this video of all these people chanting. I said, reminded me of some kind of Mayavadi social. People getting together, all long hair and no dhotis, no kurtas, no tilak, etc. But the people are chanting. Okay, fair enough. We've seen thousands of kirtans. We've been in thousands. Well, I'm looking at this, and I asked him a simple question. Who is the guru? He couldn't answer. Oh, couldn't answer. I said, it looks like a Mayavadi kirtan. He's explaining to me, oh, yeah, but they're all following Prabhupada, just making up philosophy for me. Very interesting. I said, okay, is that all you can say? Okay. Well, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to get in an argument with you that this is a good thing and that these people are making advancement? There are lots of people that chant Hare Krishna, but the real potency of the holy name comes through the agency of the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is not some concoction. People are very expert at concocting philosophy. And this person that I'm referring to, one of Gopal Krishna's first disciples, when he went to see Gopal, after 35 years or whatever, Gopal had no idea who he was. Who are you? Oh, I was one of your first. Oh, sorry, I didn't remember. Of course you don't remember. Because if you get initiation, if you take a relationship with one of these people, it will ruin your life. I had an example, two people yesterday confirming that. One personally and another one completely bewildered that he had no idea what is the difference between philosophically being connected to the bona fide spiritual master through his Vani incarnation and all this sentimental nonsense that he was experiencing and thinking, oh, this is a great kirtan. Great poison, everyone. Realize it. You associate with these people. Myself and Yashoda have a lot of experience in this. We do. We're not just manufacturing. We have practical experience with all of this deviant philosophy that is being promoted by this so-called ISKCON group, and stay away from them. If you want to get infected, go ahead. Just like COVID. I used that example. If you want to get COVID, go hang out with people that have COVID. You'll get it. If you want to be confused and bewildered by association with these so-called gurus, you will become confused, guaranteed. And Prabhupada said, and you can go to the lecture On May 2nd, 1966, he recorded that this type of association with unauthorized gurus will ruin your life. Now, you prove to us, everybody in the so-called Vaishnava world, that these gurus are bona fide. Prove it. Just show us, because we have studied the philosophy in detail. We have been with Srila Prabhupada, and the conclusion is this is a bogus system that they've introduced for profit, adoration, and distinction and money. That is the reality of this thing. And we'll move forward, with the reading today from the Prabhupada diaries. Very interesting. Remember yesterday on February 21st, Prabhupada had a problem at his room he was renting. I think he was paying $75 a month. Had no kitchen and no bathroom facility. And what water was there backed up, it said, and caused a great deal of disturbance. He said, a great inconvenience was caused today by oozing of dirty water from the sink. The superintendent was informed, but he could not help. He said he would report the matter in the office. So we'll go to February 22nd, 66. Oh, look at that beautiful picture. The report of the sink disturbance is informed in writing to the landlord's office. Today being a holiday, the office of the landlord was closed. Letter not delivered. I went to see the house at Brooklyn. So Prabhupada's planning to do something now that he sees how difficult his life is. The house is not suitable for my purpose. In the evening, there was a meeting up to 9:30 p.m. He doesn't mention if anybody attended. He was having a couple of people come. Wednesday, February 23rd, today the inspector of landlord came to see the sink, and he will send a plumber tomorrow. So inconvenient for Prabhupada. Meeting was held. The collection was $6. Expenditure bus fare to Times Square, 30 cents. Mrs. LeBlanc took away the tape recorder for writing Introduction to Gita Upanishad. And that is recorded in Prabhupada Vani, the website. So if you go there, you can hear it, the recording. So this is all available to you to get this association with Prabhupada personally through his transcendental sound. International Institute for God Consciousness. Today signed by the floating members. Vegetables, 30 cents. Income, $6. Expenditure, 60 cents. $5.40 was the balance. Today, no letter received. For the proposal and signatures of the members, see pages 200 to 201. Okay, so we'll just carry on with our reading. Thursday, February 24th, a letter from Pandya, the captain of the Jaladuta, received income $1 and no expenditures. One young man came from downtown, Mr. Robert. Robert Nelson is described in the Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Volume 2, Planting the Seed. One young man, the Sankirtan record was played. He liked it. The plumber did not turn up. So once again, for many days, Prabhupada's under great difficulty just trying to live in this room in New York City. Long way from Vrindavan, Prabhus? February 25th, 1966, the following letters were received. One from Tirtha Maharaj, two from the Nepal Permanent Commission, 3 from Vrindavan Chandra Day, Srila Prabhupada's son, who was living in Calcutta. And he came with Prabhupada to the boat when he left for America. on the Jaladuta. 4 from United States Navigation Company. The following letters dispatched: 1 to Mr. Prem Gandhi, 2 to Sally Agarwal. That's in Butler, Pennsylvania, as all of you know. And she was holding the supply of books for him and then forwarding them to Paragon Books in New York City for distribution. Went to Ananda Ashram, Monroe. The plumber did not turn up and no expenses. So once again, another day of smelly water and no facility at his place. And here we're going to look at some pictures. Prabhupada, they didn't let him speak because it was like this program yesterday that I was witness to. They didn't allow him to speak, but they wanted him to chant. So he would chant. But it was a Mayavadi group, and he understood how off these people were. So there's a picture of Prabhupada at the Ananda Ashram. And then another picture of him. These pictures were taken by an amateur photographer to take us back in time. Go ahead. Yeah, and there's another picture. Look how profound, how serious Prabhupada is. Huh? There. This is a photograph, historical photograph that we can all experience and relish in understanding the situation that Prabhupada was in and how he managed to carry on despite all the difficulty. And here's another picture of Prabhupada. And then we'll move forward. Thank you. Thank you very much. Saturday, February 26th, the whole day and night remained at the Ananda Ashram, obviously because where he was staying was uninhabitable. Remember, all the mattresses got spoiled. Kirtan demonstration was given, so they weren't letting him speak. He was chanting. Dr. Mishri appreciated it very much. Next morning, also invited, and there was no expense. On Sunday, February 27th, the whole day remained at the Ananda Ashram, yes, obviously, in Monroe. Kirtan demonstration in the morning. Record was taken by Mr. Bill, but it was not successful. In the evening, returned, no letter received, Kirtan performed. Nina Gordon attended. Plumber did not come, still. 1 torn suitcase brought by Nina, clothes put into it, nice, no income, no expenditure. And did I send one more? Monday, February 28th. Engagement with the first secretary of the Permanent Commission of Nepal State to the United Nations at 2 p.m. Saw the first secretary, Mr. Kedar P. Karela, and it is hopeful he will let me know very soon. Expenditure, bus fare, 30 cents. Income, $1. Wow, that's a lot of money. 1 letter received from Ban Maharaj. Yes, I know who he is. 1 letter received from Atma Singh. Atma Singh's reply, letter replied. So see reference to us, Atma Singh, a March 8th entry. So we'll move forward. I think that's as far as we'll go today. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending these classes and being part of our efforts to present the truth without adulteration. With His grace, Yashodanandana Prabhu from Twainhart, California, in the very difficult weather conditions over there. And despite all the difficulty, we're carrying on. Here we'll move with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll have Srimad Bhagavatam class from the original 1962 edition. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amasvat Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvaresvara Samadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Gopal ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तबिंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर मिले और ग्लोरी टू देयर मिले थैंक यू वेरी मच
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on this exalted transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. As we do every week, before we start the class, we'll be reading a few selected verses from the first canto, second chapter, where it is discussed about the meaning and benefit of hearing this great transcendental literature. We are reading from text, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 17. Shrinvatam svakata Krishnaha punyashravana kirtanaha hridyantasto yabadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18. Nashta prayeshu babadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktirabhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving love service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text number 19. Tadarajastamo bhavaham kamalobhadayaschaye cheta eterana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time, the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha Bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Again, this week we will be reading one or two verses from the Gaudiya Kanta R, which is a compilation that was ordered by His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, for all the preachers in his mission. It deals with numerous topics like Bhagavatam, Krishna, the whole process of bhakti, 20 different subjects. Today we'll be reading two verses. It's 2.7. Artoyam Brahmasutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayaha Gayatri Bhashya Rupa Usau Vedartha Paribrimhitaha. This is from Hari Bhakti Vilas 10.394. Srimad Bhagavatam explains the meaning of Vedanta and the purpose of Mahabharata. It reveals the inner meaning of the Gayatri mantra and the essence of the Vedas. Text 2.8. Gayatri Rarte Grantaramban Satyam Param Samban Dadimahi Sadani Prayojan. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam is an explanation of the Brahma, Gayatri Mantra, Satyam Param Dhimahi. We meditate upon the absolute truth. Here, Dhimahi indicates the execution of devotional service and the attainment of the ultimate goal of life. Sri Krishna, who is Satyam Param, the absolute truth. This is cited from Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 25, text 147. Today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, text number 19. All English synonyms, translation, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Chaturhotram karma shuddham, Chaturhotram karma shuddham, Prajanam bhikshya vaidikam, Prajanam bhikshya vaidikam, Vyadadat yajna santyatyayi, Vyadadat yajna santatye, Vedamekam chaturvidam, Vedamekam chaturvidam, Chatur 4, Hotram, sacrificial fire, Karma, Shuddhi, purification of work, Prajanam, of the people in general, Bhiksha, after seeing, Vaidikam, according to Vedic rites, Vyadadhat, made into, Yajna, sacrifice, Santatyai, to expend, Vedamekam, only one Veda, Chaturvidam, in 4 divisions. Translation. He foresaw that the means of purifying the occupation of the people in general were the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. And to simplify the process, he divided one Veda into 4 in order to expend them in the human society. Purport. Formerly, there was only Veda of the name Yajur, and the 4 divisions of sacrifices were there specifically mentioned. But to make them more easily performable, the Veda was divided into 4, with divisions of these sacrifices, just to purify the occupational service of the 4 orders of several status. Above the 4 Vedas, namely Rik, Yajur, Shama, Atharva, there are the Puranas and the Mahabharata, Samhitas, etc., which are known as the 5th Veda. Sri Vyasadeva and his many disciples were all historical personalities, and they very much kind and sympathetic for the fallen souls of this age of Kali. As such, the Puranas and Mahabharata were made from related historical facts, which explain the teaching of the 4 Vedas. There is no question of doubting about the authority of the Puranas and Mahabharata as parts and parcel of the Vedas. In the Chandogya Upanishad, such Puranas and Mahabharata, generally known as historical facts, are mentioned as the 5th Veda. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, that is the way of ascertaining the respective values of the revealed scriptures. Text number 20. Rigyajuhu samavtaravakya, Rigyajuhu samataravakya, Veda chatvara udritaha, Veda chatvara udritaha, Itihasa puranam cha, Itihasa puranam cha, Panchamo Veda uchyati, Panchamo Veda uchyati, Rigyaju sama atarava, the 4 names of the Vedas, Udrita, made into separate parts, Itihasa, historical records, Mahabharata, Puranam cha, and the Puranas, Panchama, the fifth, Veda, the original source of knowledge, Uchyate is said. Translation: the four divisions of the original sources of knowledge, the Vedas, were separately made, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Vedas, in the Puranas, are called the fifth Veda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Adadana Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarabata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Karomisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we have a description of how Vyasadeva divided the Vedas and why he divided the Vedas. Srila Prabhupada explains that he divided one Veda into four in order to expand them in the human society. Originally, prior to the advent of the Kali Yuga, there was only one Veda. Now at different places in Prabhupada's lectures, sometimes he said that the first Veda was the Atharva Veda. Here he mentions it's the Yajur Veda. And it's well known in India amongst various pundits and scholars that the original Veda was the Rig Veda. Regardless of which was the original, the bottom line is we ended up with four Vedas. Now, what is the purpose of these Vedas? How does Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita describe the purpose of the four Vedas? We see in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Vedeshta sarver aham eva vidyaha, that I am the person that is to be known by the study of the four Vedas. Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham, I am the compiler of Vedanta. And everything that is to be known by the Vedas, that is the person of Krishna. So this is a very important point, is we see, especially in India, there are still many great scholars, different pundits, different rishis and sages who study the Vedas. They also recite the Vedas. But even more important than just reciting the Vedas is to fully understand their meaning and to distribute that knowledge for the benefit of everyone. And this is what Vyasadeva is doing here. Now, there's a class of philosophers in India, mostly impersonalists, who think that the Puranas and Mahabharata and Ramayana, that these are less important than the original Vedas. This view is due to a poor fund of knowledge, because in the Vedas itself, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it mentions how the Itihasa Puranam, that this is the Panchamo Veda, the fifth Veda. There's the four Vedas, then there's a fifth Veda. The fifth Veda means the Itihasa. Itihasa is generally understood to be the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and various Samhitas, Pancharatra literature like that. That body of literature is considered to be the fifth Veda. This is very important. Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, last portion of text number 19, there is no question of doubting about the authority of the Puranas and Mahabharata as part and parcels of the Vedas. In the Chandogya Upanishad, such Puranas and Mahabharata, generally known as historical facts, are mentioned as the fifth Veda. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, that is the way of ascertaining the respective values of the revealed scriptures. Now, this is very important because, as we see, as explained by Srila Prabhupada, who often quotes Jiva Goswami, there's many philosophers who still insist that the Shruti or the Vedas are more important than the Smriti or the corollary literatures. But this is not the fact. We see, for example, how Adi Shankaracharya made a commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranam in the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is part of the Mahabharata. So if someone claims to be an impersonalist or a follower of Shankaracharya, how do they explain that their leader made a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, which is part of the Mahabharata? In other words, this is due to poor fund of knowledge, a poor misunderstanding. Now, why is this sequence described in the Bhagavatam? Because we will see later on, as this is being described systematically, why the Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. What is the special, unique feature of the Srimad Bhagavatam? Just like we read that one verse today from the Hari Bhakti Vilas before we began this discussion, and this is quoted also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a very important text, basically, that explains how the Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary, Artoyam Brahmasutranam Bharatartha Vinirdayaha, that the Srimad Bhagavatam explains the meaning of Vedanta and the purpose of the Mahabharata. Gayatri Bhacha Rupa Oso, the actual meaning and explanation of the Gayatri mantra, the Savitri Gayatri, is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this transcendental literature is the essence of all the Vedas. This is extremely important because, of course, we don't see this too much in America or Western countries, but in India it's very common for different pundits and scholars to claim that the Vedas are more important than the Puranas and the various other literatures. That is not a fact. Again, why does the Chandogya Upanishad, which is part of the Vedas, mention Itihasa Puranam cha Panchamo Veda, that the Itihasas and the Puranas are part, is the fifth Veda? If it is less important, why is it that in the Veda itself, it specifies that these literatures are considered part and parcel of the Vedas? So this is an extremely important point. And because ultimately, as far as we followers of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the line of the six Goswamis, we see that the Srimad Bhagavatam is given the supreme importance. This Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has dedicated an entire Sandarbha called Tattva Sandarbha to explain the supremacy of Srimad Bhagavatam. He's analyzed the structure of all the different scriptures in his conclusion that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost literature. We will see later on in this chapter as well how it is explained, how this literature came about. Why did Vyasadeva compile the Srimad Bhagavatam after he compiled all the Vedas? And what is the supreme importance of this? We've often discussed as part of our classes and discussions. There was a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who wrote a commentary, the first commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, named Chaitanya Manjusha. His name was Srinath Chakravarti, not Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srinath Chakravarti. And in the beginning of his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, he has a beautiful verse, which Srila Prabhupada many times would quote different portions of it. Part of it, he says, Srimad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam, that the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate science of God, is the ultimate evidence, is the topmost literature. Then why did Prabhupada pick up this particular book to translate and come to America? That is the reason. This literature was held in very high regard by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. We've often discussed also when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Roy on the bank of the Godavari River in South India, they had very, very detailed discussions about the process of spiritual realization. So Ramananda Roy was presenting different paths of spiritual realization, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept telling him, speak more, go on speaking. But when he quoted this one particular verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Stanistitaha Shrutigatan Tanuvan Manobhir, Ye prayaso jitochi papita srilokyam, that one should remain in whatever situation he is and hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And by this process, the Ajita, God, Krishna, is considered Ajita, unconquerable. No one can conquer. No one can be above Krishna. But by this process of hearing submissively the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Ajita can become Jita, can become conquered. One can get the favor and the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the position. One should make. Prabhupada presented this literature, this exalted literature, so that everyone, anyone in any part of the world, can get the Srimad Bhagavatam and read it very nicely, understand. Nowadays, as it was mentioned earlier by Vishwakarma Prabhu, we have different classes. We have so many different supplemental explanations by Srila Prabhupada about these various verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Many of these verses were commented upon, not just in the book itself, but in various classes. Prabhupada gave many additional supplemental explanation of so many of these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is very important. Very important. Just want to relate a little story. In 1971 in Calcutta, at the number 3 Albert Road Temple, this temple had been built in the aristocratic area of the British. The British had made Calcutta their capital in India. And the area, the neighborhood where the temple was a very nice, actually, area. And the big house that we had there, Prabhupada had a beautiful room near the veranda, a very large marble veranda in the front of the house, in the front of the apartment. And on the second floor, there was a little attic. And in the afternoon, the devotees, after taking prasadam, lunch prasadam, the devotees would take some rest, and many of them would bring the Bhagavatam, read a little bit, then take rest. So one time in the afternoon, it used to get a little warm. As anybody know, the climate in Bengal can be pretty warm, very humid. Although it is a tropical area, it gets pretty hot. So in the afternoon one time we heard, as we were resting, I heard there was this thump, that because you had to come a flight of stairs to come there. And there was this noise, this very strong noise that kept happening. And I woke up, and then there was Srila Prabhupada, fully effulgent, coming up the stairs. I got up. Other devotees also got up, and we paid our obeisances. But Prabhupada says, no, you take rest, take rest. After eating your prasad, you take rest for an hour, 20 minutes, but no more than an hour and a half. But what was remarkable is, just like the Srimad Bhagavatam is described as very effulgent, Srila Prabhupada many times, there was like a mystic power. He was so effulgent, it was like striking. This person was not just a regular sadhu or just a regular, he was very powerful, and that effulgence was quite amazing. That aura was very, very amazing. Just like we hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Benares, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Varanasi and met with Prakashananda Saraswati, there is a description by Krishnadas Kaviraj of how he was so brilliant, it was like a million suns. So of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but Srila Prabhupada, being the empowered personality that he was, the ambassador of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was also very effulgent. We also experienced the same situation one time in 1971 also, when Prabhupada came from Thailand. He came from Thailand to the Calcutta airport, and we went there to receive him. It was a very bright, sunny day in the summer. And Prabhupada, they had gotten Prabhupada some very beautiful silk. Now, anybody who's familiar with Thailand know they have a very unique kind of silk, some kind of weave that's very, very bright. And Prabhupada had a very clear-shaven head. He came down from the airport, from the airplane. We paid our obeisances, and it was like quite amazing to see His Divine Grace come down from the airplane, and the effulgence was very striking. It was like very special mercy that Prabhupada was manifesting. But somebody may raise the issue, well, that's nice, that's for you. You saw Prabhupada. You and some others, we saw Prabhupada. Well, what about others who didn't get the chance to physically meet Prabhupada? Well, Prabhupada is not dead and gone. He's still available. We've often discussed how Prabhupada, in one lecture on the 13th of January 1969, a Srimad Bhagavatam lecture in Los Angeles, California, he was describing about the special position of the great acharyas. And he mentioned, what we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living. There's so much talk from various individuals about living presence, physical presence. Well, that's nice. There was the physical presence of Prabhupada, and he's still living. He's living in sound. He's living in his Vani incarnation, his transcendental books. He is still present in his deity. Now, some do not accept that. Some do not accept that. This is very important, because we see that persons have a misunderstanding and a misconception about the availability of the pure devotee. They're confused about prakata and aprakata. Prakata means manifested presence. Aprakata means non-manifested presence. In a lecture in Atlanta, Georgia, on the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada made it very clear Prabhupada said, it is not that he is dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. So those people out there who are trying to promote their vapu over Prabhupada's vani, remember what Prabhupada says. It is not that he is dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. We'll leave it at that. I just want to make a comment. Ram Raghava Prabhu and his good wife Eunice are here, but he has a beautiful picture of Srila Prabhupada behind his head where Prabhupada was. This is the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, India, where Prabhupada was either fanning or something. Very beautiful, very nice. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
I was actually at that opening. I passed my cartels to Prabhupada while it was being held. So it was a great moment in time. And I wanted to mention that I had a question yesterday, Yashodanandana, from a devotee asking me, what was there a sequence of books that should be read by new people in terms of learning about Krishna consciousness? And I told him, yes, there is a sequence: Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, because there's a vast collection of literature, transcendental literature, that is available for reading. But Prabhupada wanted us to concentrate on reading his books, especially for new people, because the Bhagavad Gita is the summary of the Mahabharata in a nutshell, 3-hour conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And in this way, people can get a real insight into the purpose of human life without studying all these literatures and in some cases becoming confused. Then secondly, Prabhupada recommended that we read Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. Yes, so this is the essence of all the Vedas. It's the cream, the essence of the Vedic teachings. And especially for us in the West, the Westerners, we're new to this process of Krishna consciousness. We weren't raised as devotees, but we got blessed by association with a pure devotee. And in this way, Prabhupada's recommending that we study these literatures in sequence. So Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada compared them to going to high school, then to university, and then postgraduate study. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in this way, one could get the full essence of the principles of Krishna consciousness for the conditioned souls in the Kali Yuga. This is very important for us to know. These other books, yes, there are many, many books with all kinds, millions of verses of truth. But to get the explanation of the truth from Srila Prabhupada for our benefit is the best way to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. This simple sequence of reading these 3 books. And there's, of course, Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, very important. Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami's books. So just studying these books, this is sufficient for us to make advancement. And in this way, we can go back home, back to Godhead. That is the simple process. Yashodanandana, please.
Well, this is a very important point. Why is it an important point? Because unless somebody makes a thorough study of Srila Prabhupada's books, it's very difficult to understand the philosophy. Now, studying the books is very important, but one also has to chant. Prabhupada always insisted that his disciples should chant, the initiated disciples should chant 16 rounds a day. If somebody is not an initiated disciple, he can start the process. If you can't chant 16 rounds, chant a few rounds every day and offer all the food stuff to Krishna. Basically, Prabhupada made the process very simple. Very simple. For those who have a little bit of knowledge of the culture in India, basically we see that many people, they engage in various ritualistic activities, various kind of Vedic ritualistic activities. But in the age of Kali Yuga, this is not so much recommended. This is very difficult for people in general to follow and engage in all these various ritualistic activities. That's why Prabhupada, if you look at the structure of Prabhupada's books, he made things very simple. It is not complicated. He made things easy, especially. There was one lecture recently where Prabhupada was talking about the 6 Goswamis. How the 6 Goswamis were so austere, they used to live under a tree in Vrindavan, under trees. And Prabhupada says, you cannot request people nowadays to perform these kind of difficult austerities. Prabhupada, that's why we're building these temples and facilities, to give people a chance to come and hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is extremely important. Very, very important. When we carefully analyze the preaching strategy and method of the last 3 great powerful acharyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada, we see that all of them put great emphasis on literatures, on the distribution and study of Vaishnava literatures. There was not an emphasis of who's going to be the living successor, who's going to be the living guru. None of that was the emphasis. All of them have given so many valuable instructions, and especially our Srila Prabhupada with his books. Prabhupada one time told Panditji Prajimna Prabhu that his disciples should study each and every word in his books, just like lawyers study each and every word in their law books. Now, this is a very important point. Anybody who wants to be a follower of Prabhupada, a student of Prabhupada's teachings, wherever you are, regardless of your level of advancement or lack thereof, such as in my case, read the books. Make a study. Make a point that every single day, everybody is going to eat every day. Everybody is going to sleep every day. Everybody is going to do certain activity and dedicate a certain amount of time every single day to hear the message, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, absolutely. And Yashodanandana Prabhu, I was asked by another Prabhu yesterday about this exact subject of hearing and how he should move forward with his Krishna consciousness. And I suggested to him that he should hear every day a lecture from Srila Prabhupada, whether it's in his car or at his house, whenever it's convenient. And at the same time, read the books, some form of the books every day. Have a project. For example, everyone should make a project to read the Gita, then read the Srimad Bhagavatam, then read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of the books, not just read, pick and choose. Of course, that's okay, but better to methodically go through all the books and, along with that, attend these classes. These classes are classes based on the hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita in the assembly of devotees. Try not to be offensive when you attend. Try to be submissive and cooperative. This is very important. Cannot minimize Vaishnava etiquette when dealing with each other. This is a big mistake. Of course, we all know that many of the people in our group never lived in a temple in the 70s or 60s. They have no training in that environment. So sometimes it is difficult for them to understand Vaishnava etiquette, but it is very important. So like that, there's a specific system for becoming Krishna conscious. Chant your rounds, take prasadam, distribute prasadam to others, preach to the people in your local area. Then your spiritual life becomes invigorated, enlivened. And if you have any questions, you can bring them forward and learn this process from other experienced devotees. We have a Brahminical council of 10 people. You can call them. You can deal with them. You can ask them questions. Pick and choose who you want. They're all good devotees of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada. In this way, Krishna consciousness, the truth of the matter, can be explained to other people. Jonas Priya in Hawaii. I see you're with us again this morning. It's rather early there. Could you make a few comments and
Hare Krishna, all
on
glories to
today's
Srila
class?
Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yes, Srila Prabhupada gave us the whole package. He did not give us part of the package. He gave us a complete package. So the package is that we have to, Prabhupada said that he took the trouble of writing these books, firstly, for his disciples to read these books. And he was very disappointed that a lot of people weren't reading the books, especially Sankirtan devotees. They were distributing hundreds of books, but Prabhupada says, but are you reading my books? And they said, well, Prabhupada, we're too busy. Then Prabhupada said, well, then how many hours are you sleeping? Well, I'm sleeping 6 hours. Well, Prabhupada said, sleep 5 hours and read for 1 hour. So Prabhupada took so much trouble in writing these books. And in the books, Prabhupada is very specific of what we have to do. We have to chant the holy names as purely as we can, and we have to read the philosophy. And when you have this formula, then you have success. We're praying to Krishna to please engage us in your service, and then we're reading the books, then we could act with intelligence. Now, my question is to Yasodanandana Prabhu, if somebody just simply chants and reads maybe a little bit, but not enough, or if somebody just reads but doesn't chant so much, there's this controversy going on that unless one really studied the scriptures and only chants the name, unless he's chanting purely, then the name would not have any effect. And then other people think if you just simply keep on chanting, then you don't need to read, because if you're chanting nicely, then Krishna will reveal everything from within. So that's my question.
Well, it is a fact that the chanting of the name of Krishna, because the name of Krishna is none different than Krishna. It is described in the Padma Purana, Abhinatvam Nama Naminaha. The Nama, the name, the Nami, the person, is non-different. It is not that there's a difference between Krishna and his name. So one has to understand this very carefully. In other words, simply by chanting, one will get all realization. But that also, for example, Prabhupada many times commented that the spiritual master of his spiritual master, Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, was illiterate. He could not read or write, but Prabhupada said he was such a great spiritual master who understood all the Siddhanta of the Vedic literatures. He knew all the conclusions. So even if somebody doesn't read or can't read, still everything can be revealed to him. But for most people who can hear and read, it's advisable for them to, along with the chanting process, to regularly hear and read Srimad Bhagavatam. There's no difference between reading and hearing. This is the fact. If one is able to have some modern device, computer, a cell phone. You can hear lectures of Srila Prabhupada. We can hear Prabhupada singing the Samsara prayers, the Japa, the Shikshastakam, the Goswamiastakam, Prabhupada giving Srimad Bhagavatam. So this foolish idea that is propagated that Prabhupada is not physically available. Well, the sound vibration is physical. The deity is physical. The picture is physical. And the book is physical. We have to learn how to associate with the pure devotee. In the same canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that we're reading, we have previously read, where Prabhupada described one should approach a saintly person not for seeing, but for hearing. Now this is important. One should not neglect the chanting process, the kirtanam process, or the shravanam process. Both of them go together. It's not that one is better than the other, one is lesser than the other. They're both tied together. So one should make the point of carefully studying these literatures, because then one will be able to explain the philosophy to others as Srila Prabhupada explained it to us, according to our realization. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Thank you.
Prabhu Jonas Priya, I also wanted to mention that it is a simple principle of learning that you study. It doesn't matter if you're in grade school or in high school or university or at the PhD level. You have to study. This is common sense. It is not just a rule for Krishna consciousness. This is a rule for anything that you do. What to speak of people that are interested in spiritual life? They must be serious. Prabhupada said, taking a guru is not a fashion statement. Oh, I have a spiritual master. It was very popular in the 70s that people would take gurus, the hot guru in LA. But this was just for style or fashion. Oh, I study spiritual life under this guru or that so-called bogus teacher. No, common sense. Study the books. That was simple, as clear as it could be. You should read my books every day. What is it that you're reading? It's the transcendental sound vibration of the pure devotee. Through oral reception, you get an understanding, a realization through this process. It's practical. Simply to think, oh, I had one of my godbrothers tell me, oh, you don't need to chant your rounds anymore because you've been chanting for 50 years. Huh? Excuse me? No, it's okay. You just study the books and you should become a guru. Oh, so I don't have to chant. I can read all these other books other than Prabhupada's books, like the Govinda Lilamrita. And in this way, I'll be able to help other people become Krishna conscious. Absolutely wrong. And by the way, I haven't spoken to him in 2 years. We have a simple principle. If you don't agree with us, that's fine. You're entitled to it. And go with these other groups and see how you make out. That's your business. Everyone has independent free will. You study Prabhupada's books. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, etc., in this way. And along with it, you chant 16 rounds. Prabhupada ordered that. Again, Yashodanandana Prabhu. I had a question yesterday from this new person asking me what he should do to become initiated. I told him you have to chant 16 rounds, minimum, every day. That's a principle. Not do you chant or you don't chant, I'll just read. No, it's like cooking in the kitchen. Your recipe requires certain ingredients. Ghee, salt, pepper, like that, different elements. Now, if you're a cook and you leave some things out of the recipe, what happens? The taste changes. This is a recipe of success here, which we're going over. Association with devotees, avoiding the offenses against devotees. Very important, because you can practice Krishna consciousness, but if you're offensive, that will be a very serious problem for you to make advancement. It's called hati mata, the mad elephant offense. It's not a joke. A lot of people don't understand what offensive means because they have no experience. No experience. They're looking from the outside in. We're trying to give insight. Offenseless chanting, studying Prabhupada's books, distributing this knowledge to other people. I had a question from Aprakrita in Montreal, very good devotee from the early 70s. He asked me, what is your favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita? And I told him, well, my favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita is in the 18th chapter. And it is, I believe, 58. Excuse me for 1 second. I'll see if I can find it. This particular verse is that if you explain this message of Krishna consciousness to others, then Krishna, for it's text 68, not 58. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. So this is the business of a devotee. You get the information, you study the books, you chant your rounds, you follow the principles, and you share it with other people without adulteration, and Krishna will bless you. Yashodanandana, please.
Very interesting letter Prabhupada wrote on April 19th, 1975 to one Mr. Rambai M. Patel. April 19th, 1975. Prabhupada is saying, I hope you are finding the time to visit our Montreal temple frequently, and that you are finding our books interesting to read. By associating and rendering service to the Vaishnavas and hearing the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as chanting Hare Krishna, your life will become perfect. I thought this is a very interesting statement by Srila Prabhupada that nicely describes the simplicity of Srila Prabhupada right there. The simplicity of Prabhupada's approach. Very, very important. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, it's like common sense. Very, very simple for the simple and very difficult for the crooked or the offensive. Very difficult for them. And it's been startlingly revealed in the last week or so how confused and chaotic things are as a result of so much deviation in the process of Krishna consciousness by different people that are so-called presenting the philosophy according to their concocted realization of it. I see that we have Preet from Dallas, Texas on the call. Maybe she could share some of her realizations in terms of these matters with us this morning at the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Preet in Dallas, Texas.
Hello?
Maybe your microphone's not on. Nilesh Dalal in
Dr.
Miami.
Nilesh. Dr. Nilesh is there. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna, Prabhu.
my permanent Hare Krishna. My permanent name is Neil Shamadas. You're calling me by my impermanent name.
It's up on the screen as such, so
Yes,
that's why we
yes,
do.
yes, yes.
We
yes,
never
yes.
knew that
So-
you have another name. Sorry.
Yes, that's okay. That's okay. So, Prabhuji, something very interesting which the other Prabhu brought up is about chanting and associating. And you mentioned about Gaur Kishodas Babaji, where Gaur Kishodas Babaji was illiterate, but he was very well versed with all the Vedic literatures. Now, you may wonder, how is this possible from a material standpoint? Somebody who is illiterate, who cannot read, how would he know the essence of all the Vedic literatures? And Krishna says very nicely in Bhagavad Gita, where we just talked about it, chapter 10, he talks about
Huh. He's having some technical difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Could be traveling.
Yes.
Maybe you could comment further, Yashoda.
Well, I don't know exactly the last point that he made, but to come back to a point with that Dr. Nilesh mentioned last time we spoke about association with devotees, because many times people will say, well, you people are criticizing devotees, but you're not associating with other devotees. Now, we have association. This is the purpose of this whole program. That the program is made to basically give a chance to anybody to associate, but one has to learn to discriminate. And what I'm referring to is some statements of Srila Prabhupada. For example, in Canto number 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 29, text 16, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 29, text 16, Srila Prabhupada says, we should befriend and offer special respect to persons who are developed in Krishna consciousness. Other living entities are undoubtedly part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but because their consciousness is still covered and not developed in Krishna consciousness, we should renounce their association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he is not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because occasionally we get different devotees coming up, digging into the past of a Vaishnava and engage in some blasphemy or some unfair criticism or nonsense fabrication, exaggeration, distortions. And this is very dangerous, because we know from Prabhupada's teachings in Prabhupada's books that one should not unnecessarily criticize another Vaishnava or find fault with another Vaishnava or blaspheme another Vaishnava. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be dumb or stupid, and if something is grossly inappropriate, just to remain silent. That is not Vaishnava philosophy. That is not our philosophy. That is not the approach that Prabhupada took. We have to use our intelligence and very carefully analyze situations, do some fact-finding, and analyze it to understand things in the proper perspective. And this is very important. Just like if you go to a court of law and you have a dispute, a contract dispute, the judge doesn't start just giving the judgment as soon as you show up. Many times there will be deliberations to find out what are the facts, what exactly happened, what was the intention of the parties, what did they really mean, what are the exact facts. It's the same thing with devotees. It's one thing to find fault with the devotees, say, oh, you said this, or you did this, or you did that. Okay, what were the circumstances? And this is a very important point, because we see that some people will use past activities of a devotee and distort things, misinterpret things, to engage in blasphemy and nonsense. This is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. We have all seen this. Like recently, a devotee asked me and challenged me, oh, why didn't you stop them in the beginning? Why didn't you argue? Why didn't you try to change things? I said, yes, we tried. They didn't want to talk. There was no forum for discussion. There was no proper arena for an intelligent discussion. And the relevant conversations with Srila Prabhupada that took place in 1977 were not available for almost 10 years after Prabhupada departed. So it's one thing for somebody to launch unjust or unfounded accusation. Somebody should get the facts first before they talk. Hare Krishna. To whom it may concern.
Yeah, this is a question of having a perspective on life itself, because life is a journey, sometimes difficult, sometimes easy. Sometimes situations are there which cause us to maybe make a mistake. Mistakes are there. So many mistakes. Sometimes they're distorted by rumors, by opinions, and on it goes, all of this world of names and illusion and confusion and delusion. Is it something we should be concerned about? Only to learn from. For example, Prabhupada, I was listening to a lecture Yashodanandana. He was saying this, the Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivashwan. Imperishable. That means wherever you are in your Krishna consciousness, the benefits that you've gained from that service are never lost. Now, say by circumstance something happens in a person's life, they make a mistake, and then they're criticized their whole life for that mistake. Even though they may take up Krishna consciousness again with great enthusiasm and start again to follow the process and continue to march forward back home, back to Godhead under the directions of the spiritual master. Yet, some people will come forward and just focus on those faults that they committed many, many years ago. It could be 40 years ago. This is fault finding. People that are fault finders, what happened when Ramachandra Puri left the association of the Vaishnavas during the time of Lord Chaitanya? You know what happened, Prabhus? Everybody felt great relief when they went away, because their association was not helpful to anybody's progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness. You have to judge things by their results. Sometimes when you have results, people will attack you due to envy. What is this? The world of illusion. That's what it is. That's the reality that we're in. And all these so-called names in the flame of eternal time, they come and go. And all that happens is you produce karma by the actions that you perform in this lifetime, which you will carry forward into your next life. If you stay focused on the mission of Srila Prabhupada, if you stay focused on the process of devotional service, irrespective of what happened to you in this life while you're learning how to become a Krishna conscious person, you will be blessed by Krishna and you will go back to home, back to Godhead, according to Prabhupada's divine mercy upon us. This is important to know that. Fault finders, personally, in my experience, living in a temple for 16 years, are common everywhere, and they're very, difficult to deal with and unfavorable to your own peace of mind. So you have to exercise transcendental focus to get rid of this type of disturbance in your life, and you can carry on with your devotional service without any interference. So offensive nature, fault finding, criticism, all of that kind of stuff, it goes on in the material world, it goes on in the Vaishnava world, and we're oblivious to it because we understand we are Nicho Nichananam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Yo Bahunam Vadati Kaman. We are the eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Srila Prabhupada. Yashoda, if you wanted to finish off, please.
There's a question from Bhakta Michael Dillon. How does a person who chants, reads, and offers food get a permanent name? Usually that is done by the process of initiation. Prabhupada set up a process in 1977 before his departure that people could become his initiated disciple by the via media of officiating representative, also known as Ritviks. Prabhupada, there is no record of Prabhupada ever appointing any successor or initiating acharyas after him, specifically in the last few months of his manifested presence. The process is not complicated. It is not difficult. It is simple. Basically, one has to chant 16 rounds. One should do the process for at least 6 months. Of course, nowadays, if one does not live in a temple or does not have the structure of association of temple, but at least one should get also a recommendation from one of our members of our Brahminical council. And then one should read the books regularly, but it seems as if somebody chants, reads, offer food. I mean, these are the basic fundamental points that Prabhupada recommended, and after 6 months, we can arrange to do a fire sacrifice and perform the ceremony, choose a name. There's also a small exam that Prabhupada used to recommend that people take. It's a very simple 10, 12 question exam. Who is Krishna? What's the difference between faith and religion? Things like that. So just to present it very simply.
Very interesting. And just one last comment before we end up. I had that same question, Yashodanandana Prabhu, from a couple of devotees from Chicago who were asking me that. They're twin brothers, actually. Very nice people. And they asked me specifically about initiation. And I told them, really, if you follow this process of Krishna consciousness, study the books, learn the philosophy like a proper student. If you chant your rounds, you offer your food, and you preach to others about the value of spiritual life for their benefit, then that is really what initiation is. Initiation means to follow the process. Sure, there's a formal process of initiation, but what good is initiation if you don't follow? Look at the example of all the God brothers that we know that don't follow. Are they initiated? Only if you follow are you initiated. So it's very important to understand that this process is a commitment by every individual to follow the instructions of Bhakti Yoga and train yourself up how to become Krishna conscious. And this way, you'll be connected to Srila Prabhupada through this process of devotional service. It is a personal commitment that you're looking for, not a formal initiation. Sure, we have formal initiation. Yes, Yashoda.
There's
Please.
an interesting old Back to Godhead article called Search for the Divine, where Prabhupada stated, If you have understood this Krishna philosophy, and if you have decided that you will take Krishna consciousness seriously and preach the philosophy to others, that is your initiation. My touch is simply a formality. It is your determination that is initiation. It's a very interesting definition of initiation by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and I think that that's sufficient for today's program. Thank you, everyone. We went a little over today, and we look forward to seeing everyone on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have the Chaitanya Charitamrita class, and then next week again, Saturday and Sunday. So 3 classes a week, 4.5 hours of your time, a little bit extra sometimes, depending on the topics and subjects. And everyone march forward. If you have any questions you want to bring forward, we're always available with our group. We have newsletters. We're producing a new magazine on the Guru issue. We're doing classes. We have over 250 classes online. There's some initiation ceremonies that are recorded there. You can go and see them. And like that, we'll march forward on this path back home, back to Godhead as a group in the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Let's move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna by Srila Prabhupada.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Somebody says, question, is initiation compulsory? Fire sacrifice. There are very few occasions when Prabhupada did not do a fire sacrifice, but Prabhupada does recommend that everybody who's serious about spiritual life should accept initiation. There is one occasion in Russia, when Prabhupada went to Russia in 1971, he initiated one devotee, Ananta Shanti. There was no fire sacrifice. There was another occasion in Iran, in Tehran, in Iran, I believe in 1975, with Atriya Rishi, where he recommended 2 devotees for initiation. There was no fire sacrifice. They made the promise to follow, they had the obeisances to Prabhupada, or agreed to chant 16 rounds on a regular principle. But the regular standard is to do a proper fire sacrifice and to undergo the process. That's why we usually, Prabhupada recommends in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to follow a 6-month process of following properly. It's called Purashcharya, basically to perform certain activities before initiation to get somebody ready for the proper process. To follow the principles, chant 16 rounds. We gave an exam that was given by Prabhupada, which is a very simple exam that was given by Prabhupada in 1969, like that. But correspond with us, we can discuss these things, or whoever is interested. Hare Krishna. Vijay Pandit Prabhu, come va? Come va?
Bene, bene, grazie. I just came back.
Oh, very nice.
Haribo.
Tutte le glorie, sua divina grazia Srila Prabhupada.
Tutte le glorie, tutte le glorie.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.